Loren Rhoads' Alondra stories have appeared in the books Best New Horror Number 27, Strange California, Frightmare Women Write Horror, Sins of the Sirens, The Haunted Mansion Project Year 1, Unsafe Words, and earlier this year, Occult Detective. They're collected in Kindle format, starting with Alondra's Experiments, and you can find more about Loren Rhoads at lorenrhoads.com. We present Loren's reading As It Begins.
Alondra hadn't left her cottage in the better part of 2 weeks. Pearl had tried a couple of times to lure her out to Mardi Gras parties, but Alondra wasn't a fan of parties at the best of times, and the chaos of Mardi Gras season seemed overwhelming. Besides, she preferred to do her drinking at home. That didn't mean that the celebrations didn't reach her. Even in the Garden District, there were parties, loud voices, shrill laughter, jazz quartets on the verandas. Alondra set her books aside when the noise became too much for her to concentrate and retreated into the kitchen. Her landlady had loaned her some family recipes that Alondra had dutifully copied over. She never tasted authentic jambalaya until Marie brought her a pot of it. Now she was struggling to recreate the experience. Marie's note to add 2 or 3 teaspoons of pepper sauce added mystery to the process. Alondra's first batch of jambalaya had been too hot to eat. Now, finally, she thought she was getting the hang of it. The evening was unseasonably warm for February, so Alondra had propped the front door open with her copy of de Griot's Witchcraft, Magic, and Alchemy to let some air in. She returned to the kitchen to check the rice. She was daydreaming over the pot and didn't notice as the temperature in her kitchen dropped. Something heavy clunked down on her kitchen table behind her. A chill wrapped the nape of her neck. Alondra turned with a dripping spoon held across her body like a weapon. At the table sat a white woman with her hair pulled up into a disheveled pile. Rather than a Mardi Gras mask, her face had been charcoaled with 2 black diamonds that stretched from hairline to jaw. She wore a spaghetti-strap harlequin dress that left her shoulders bare, but Alondra was certain that the chunky necklace she wore held real diamonds. On Alondra's table, she dropped a skull splashed with crimson paint. The chill emanated from the skull. "You need to help me." It wasn't a request. She needed to renew her protections around her cottage, Alondra thought, and probably give the table a salt wash. She wasn't inclined to be kind to strangers who marched into her home without so much as a by your leave. "Whose skull is it?" Alondra asked. "I don't know. I bought it in a box of vintage Mardi Gras decorations." When Alondra didn't respond, the woman continued in her rush. "We just moved to New Orleans in December. Charles insisted that we go to his boss's 3 Kings party, and then we had to eat that nasty almond cake, and he found a baby in his piece, and they said that meant we had to host the Mardi Gras party." The longer the woman talked, the lower the temperature dropped. White puffs of breath accompanied her words. Despite the warmth of the pot bubbling at her back, Alondra shivered. She interrupted the torrent of complaints. "What would you like me to do?" "I've tried to get rid of it ever since we threw our party a week ago. In the middle of the evening, the house got so cold that the pipes started to burst. I put the skull in the garbage, but I found it in the breakfast nook the next day. I made Charles take the garbage out that morning, but it turned up under the bathroom sink. I ran it out when the garbage man came on Tuesday, but it was on my pillow that night when I came to bed. Since then, I've tried throwing it out of the car, mailing it away, and dumping it into the river. It keeps coming back." Alondra held up her hand to stem the flow of words. "I want you to donate $1,000 to save our cemeteries. Then I want you to take a bath with the charm I give you. Wash your face, wash your hair, gather up all the Mardi Gras decorations you bought, and took them to St. Vincent de Paul's." "Oh, I've done that already," the woman assured. "All right, wait here a moment." Alondra crossed through the bathroom into the bedroom of her cottage. She found a handkerchief and pulled down her jars of herbs, mixing lavender and rose with a chunk of dragon's blood and a piece of galangal. She wrapped the packet closed with a piece of yellow ribbon. Then she returned to the woman sitting in her kitchen and dropped the package into her hand. What do I owe you? Pay me what you think my help is worth. If this thing stops showing up at my house, that would be worth a lot. The woman took a roll of bills from her purse and set them on the table. But if it shows up tomorrow morning, Alondra smiled. I know you're not threatening me, she said. The woman swallowed audibly. You can go now. I'll handle things from here. As soon as the woman crossed her threshold, Alondra moved 4 pillar candles to surround the skull. She lit a stick of spaghetti from the stove and used it to light the candles and a disc of charcoal. Once the coal was smoldering nicely, she added 3 pearls of frankincense. As the smoke filled the kitchen, Alondra dished up a bowl of jambalaya for the skull and another for herself. The temperature in the kitchen had returned to normal by the time she sat down across from the skull. Outside the cottage, the sounds of Mardi Gras continued, but it was almost midnight. Once the streets had cleared, Alondra would ask Jackson, her landlady's husband, if he could give her a ride out to Holt Cemetery so she could give the poor skull a decent burial and some peace at last. This time, the jambalaya tasted just right. Thank you. And for my giveaway, I'm giving away an ebook of 3 of my favorite Alondra stories to anybody who'd like a copy.